All right, I'm here with Keith Urgo, head coach of Fordham basketball, also Atlantic 10 Coach of the Year. I appreciate the time. I know this is a busy time of year. How are you doing? What a great season! I know we talked about this off air a little bit. Have you had any time to kind of digest what this year was about? Again, a great year for Fordham in year one.
Yeah, you know what? It's a testament to our leadership at Fordham, the new leadership, President Tetlow, and obviously the Board of Trustees and Ed Cole, everybody aligned and moving in the same direction. An incredible staff that we have here at Fordham, and we had some great leadership. So, I think looking back on it, I haven't had a crazy amount of time to reflect on the season quite yet. Just trying to capitalize on it. I did take a couple of days to kind of take a breather and spend some time with my family. But that entire time, I really didn't necessarily look back and think about too much what was going on this past 6 or 7 months. It was more like, okay, let's be focused and try to balance and make sure I spend time with my family, but also realize, this recruiting landscape is pretty nuts now. So, you're already moving on to what's next. You don't even have time to really think about what you did. You use a lot of the talking points from what you accomplished this past season when you're talking to new recruits. But, in today's kind of basketball landscape, immediately the next day after we're done, it's already, who's in the transfer portal? How do we replace XYZ? What's going on with our freshmen? Let's make sure they're prepared and finish in high school strong. It never really does stop. At some point, we will take some time to reflect, but most of that will be during our recruiting presentations for what's next. It's a pretty interesting situation, but you don't want to be left behind.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, since you're stuck with me anyways, I'll force you to reflect a little bit that you are here. But obviously, you look at your record. I mean, 12-6 just in conference play. But beyond that, I feel like what you guys did, not just the wins obviously are hard, and people do show up when you win, but you guys created something really special, this year, which I think
Yeah.
is hard to do with kids today with all their options. Just, the home court advantage, what you built with that, what was the best part of that for you? Just rose
Oh my goodness. The Rose Thrill and creating some traditions like the shirtless herd and just having people be energized and excited about coming to games and Fordham basketball. It was electric. And when you have guys like Archie Miller, who were at Indiana, when you guys had, Frank Martin, who was at South Carolina and Kansas State and so many other places. And then, guys like Mark Schmidt, who've been in the league for a long time, come in, and all of them have said, this is about as good of an environment you'll find in college basketball, certainly in the Atlantic 10. To have those veteran coaches and guys that I respect and admire say those types of things about our home court, it goes a long way. And it means a lot to the fan base. It means a lot to the future of Fordham athletics and Fordham basketball. And, for all those folks that said you couldn't do it or that it can't be possible at Fordham, they got to see firsthand that, it is possible. Whether or not we can maintain some consistency, that obviously is something we'll have to work extremely hard to do. But last season was any indication of what could be. Not a whole lot of people are going to want to come into Rose Thrill and play.
Yeah, no, and I feel like you talked about a recruiting tool. I think obviously kids would they die to play in an environment like that. But beyond just the environment, you guys had obviously Darius, you had more, second and third team respectively, all Atlantic 10. Again, a testament to what you and your staff are able to do in terms of developing, but also for individuals to excel at Fordham. How big is that for you to have those two guys, not just what they did, but again,
Yeah.
perform at the level they did?
Yeah, I mean it's massive, especially when you talk about recruiting, and it shows that our player development is as good as anybody else. And our staff, I think, is one of the best in the country because they really care about the people that they're working with, not just themselves trying to use Fordham as a stepping stone. They love where they're at. They love the development of our players. The relationships they have with our players are absolutely fantastic. Personally, I think Darius Quisenberry should have been first team, and Khalid Moore should have been second team, if anything. And I definitely think Will Richardson got absolutely robbed when it comes to all rookie team. Very few freshmen did what he did. Our record speaks for itself when he was in the starting lineup. No disrespect to anybody else who was on it, but there's no way that he didn't deserve to be on it. but to see guys like Kyle Rose who have stuck through, the hard times at Fordham, be here for 4 years, and the struggles they had in the first and second year of his career, and then COVID, and all of a sudden be added to, the all defensive team, to see all of those things take place, it just shows that, Fordham can be a place where guys can come and develop and have a chance um, to get to the next level and to be recognized within the Atlantic 10. And I think it's just the beginning, because I think the talent that we have currently on our roster and the kids that are coming in have the ability to really take us to the next level. And as they see, we were able to take, Khalid and Darius and these guys and continue to work with them and see their numbers increase dramatically individually. And then obviously as a team, it's very exciting for certain guys, especially in the transfer portal, that think they might want to come on back home and, get a master's from one of the best academic institutions in the country, and also have a chance to play very high level basketball.
Yeah. And this is, this really will be kind of your first true, complete off season, if you want to call it that. You had mentioned, some things earlier, but kind of what is the focus for you in terms of, like you said, kind of maintaining this level of play and also building on the environment and the momentum you've built?
Yeah, I mean, it's to continue the player development for sure, to make sure that, our experienced guys who are coming back take the next step in their leadership. I thought last year was tremendous, with regards to our locker room being as connected as any I've ever been a part of. And it didn't start like that. The same, the 2 years ago when we were 500, I think one of the reasons why we couldn't take the next step, obviously you need to have really, really good talent, but also I think we were more coaches led than players led. This past season, we were led within that locker room. And you can see, and I think our current roster sees the difference when the players are holding each other accountable, as opposed to when coaches are only ones holding players accountable. So really creating leadership opportunities for this next set of upperclassmen and returners is really important, because I think they've experienced what it means when players are holding each other accountable. So for the spring and summer, it's creating environments where guys step up and become leaders and continue to develop individually, but also collectively. Um, a lot of kind of team building activities, I believe, are really important. We did a lot of that last summer, and I think it really paid off. So continuing those same exercises is really important for our program.
Yeah. No, I love it. And, last question, just in terms of the A10 as, as a whole, obviously, in terms of NCAA tournament, maybe a little bit of a down year. With that being said, though, I look at the talent coaching specifically. Obviously, you're obviously in that group. A lot of new coaches this past year kind of building their programs, kind of just the health of the league. Where you see the A10 kind of moving forward, especially in regard to the coaches, because I do think it's a great conference with good coaches that are just getting started.
Yeah, I honestly, I think it's absolutely ridiculous that we only got one team in and one other team invited to the NIT. I think it's absolutely insane, and you're starting to see some of the absurdity with some of the prestige that some of the leagues have gotten. They're weighing games in November, and well, they say they don't, but it's clear as day that they're weighing teams in November and December, wins and losses during those periods of time, so heavily, which is ridiculous, because the landscape has been created where it's impossible for us to get games on a regular basis with any high major programs. And anybody who says any different isn't making the phone calls that we're making. You have all these leagues that, they have 20-game league seasons plus MTEs, guys, plus the one-offs like the Gavitt games or the whatever challenges there are. Power 5 teams get to 24 to 25 games before they even start thinking about their non-conference opponents, and as a result, nobody wants to play a GW or Rhode Island during, if they got 5 or 6 opportunities to play teams where they feel like they got to work on things or whatever it might be. It's almost impossible for us to get opportunities to go play at play these big teams where we can consistently prove ourselves. But it's even more difficult because they're saying if you don't win those games in November, December, well then, you know, you don't have any quad one or whatever it might
Yeah.
be. It just I don't know what the formula seems to be, but I do know that there are some high level players and ridiculously good teams, certainly in February and March, because of the coaches. You have so many fantastic coaches in this league that do such a great job. Very few teams in our league weren't playing the best basketball they were capable of playing at the end of February. And that's why you saw the parity throughout the league be as good as it was. Everybody says it was a down year. No, in today's world, when you look at the transfer portal, you know, it takes a little while to get your team connected and playing at the highest of levels it can potentially play. I think they need to start weighing a little bit more on how teams are doing late January, February into March, as opposed to how they did in November and December. It makes no sense. You want the best teams playing their best basketball in the greatest show on earth, not teams that were really successful in November, December, and then 500 in league, but they're all, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
It just doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense to me because you're not having the best teams and the best players play in the best sporting event there is. So I could go on and on about how disappointed I was that the Atlantic 10 was treated, but it's outrageous in my opinion.
No, I agree. Well, and then I won't get you off. I know it's been talked about with the NIT, which is absolutely ridiculous. But no, I agree. But so I mean, I can't imagine you'd have trouble getting people next year to come into Rose Hill.
Well, we
Majors.
certainly hope not. We certainly hope not. Well,
So I feel like
you
even
know,
that's like
oh, you're talking about,
that's
yeah,
an example,
yeah, no,
meaning like
no,
with the home court
nobody's
advantage like that, no high major is going to take even a risk.
no,
You know what I mean? It's just kind
not
of
even
out the
close.
window. So
No, and honestly, they wouldn't come to us, and if we don't come to them, and they won't even really invite us to come to them.
yeah,
So we've offered, you know, let's go to a neutral site, let's go to the Barclays, let's go to the Garden. We can get into those places. They don't want to do that either, because none of them want to play an Atlantic 10 team during the non-conference unless they have to, because it doesn't make a whole lot of. It's a lose-lose for them. Now, most fans don't realize that, and they're like, you need to schedule this, you need to schedule that. Well, it's like, no, people won't play us. We've reached out to everybody you could possibly reach out to. You know, if they believe it's going to be a very difficult non-conference game for them, and they even might squeak, they might win or they might lose, but there's a 50-50, especially early on in the year, that they know it could cost them dramatically. They're not going to do it. And as a result, it puts us in a really difficult situation. People get really upset and, you know, at our scheduling for this and that, but it's extremely difficult to schedule nowadays. And, you know, obviously it was well documented, Chris Mooney's, you know, talk about, you know, to John Rothstein and all that kind of good stuff. But, you know, it's reality. It's very difficult.
yeah, no, without a doubt. Well, listen, I know, you know, in terms of the health of the league and what you guys did, it was great just to watch. Great to see, you know, excited for kind of Fordham basketball moving forward with kind of you at the head of that. So, you know, I appreciate the time. Do you have any skin in the game relationship in terms of the NCAA remaining? Any feelers that, you know, you want this team or just enjoying the basketball?
No, I'm just enjoying the basketball. I think there's so many really good teams. And as everybody's starting to see, the parity is through the roof because of COVID and certain teams that are really old, and have incredible guard play. I just think a team like Alabama that's got, you know, pretty much every position filled on the basketball court, including a great bench and older guys, they're going to be really difficult to beat because of their experience, their level of talent, and their depth. And but you know, there's so many different teams that can pull it off because it's anybody can win on any given night, especially when you got older guys. Princeton's going to be really exciting to watch because they are filled with really good, experienced players that play really well together. So they could be fun.
Absolutely. No, I love the Ivy League. I feel like they're always talk about the metrics never favor anything with the Ivy at all. And they got
Yeah.
some great teams in that league. But again, thank you, Keith. I appreciate it. And we'll be in touch.
Appreciate you guys. Have a great one.